All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football. D Nasty is back. Dave, how was your Labor Day weekend?
It's wonderful. No barbecues this weekend for me, but we had a wedding though, so that was in place of the barbecue, and then a little swimming today. I think a little pool time with the weather being hot today.
Yeah, yep, that's true. We're going to do a little pool time after brunch. We'll do brunch ourselves, but it was a great weekend of college football. Fun to watch. Big Ten was under impressive as usual,
Oh yeah,
but I mean, they got it done for the most part. But that's how they are. They win ugly games. I'm just kind of hoping some of these teams snap out of it and play a little better next week. I being such a Big Ten fan and you as well. So we'll see what happens. But hey, more importantly, baby, you should be scared this week, my friend. I got my Bears. We have a big game coming up, Dave.
I know Packers Bears. I like it. It's gonna be fun to watch. We'll see if Jordan Love is the real deal now, or Fields. We'll see how those both those guys do. But speaking of
Yep.
them, we'll go into we'll talk about Jonathan Taylor a little bit too, though. Here,
Sadly, Jonathan Taylor now pupless for 4 weeks, and we touched on that. But man, it's just so weird, these running back situations. And I know running backs get hurt easy, and that's part of the reason why they don't get paid. But it's just so weird to see the guy go from the first pick of the draft last year in almost every league to like, was he like the 28th, 30th running back now? It's just it's strange because you feel like you're in jail, like almost with a guy like Ursay. Now, at the same time, I don't think he should have held out under contract. It's like this is a situation where you should be bargained upon when you have your meetings, right? When the union meets with the NFLPA and all that. I think that the Players Association was the one that did this. You shouldn't be doing this. Now you screwed yourself for record books and things like that. You're missing 4 games, and you just happen to have a bad owner. That's not going to move you. If it was me, I would have found some sort of happy medium. Like like what they did to Josh Jacobs. They franchised him, but they upped his pay anyway. Something like that. Just be like, dude, we're not going to pay running backs long term. We're never going to do that. We don't want to get nothing back on a trade, but we're going to pay a bunch more money this year. I mean, something like that instead of just the situation. So I think both sides could have been better, but it's just tough, Dave, for running backs. I don't even know if it's fixable.
exactly. And when he does come back, how good is he going to be after missing 4 games? He's not going to have those reps from practice, and he might be staying in shape while he's out. But we got to wonder about the ankle too. Is the ankle really part of this saga, or is he really healthy? That's the other thing that's concerning me a little bit too, as well. Do we know if he's really healthy? How
Yeah.
is that ankle? Is it fully healthy? Why did they put him on the pup list? Is it because of the trade, or is it because of the ankle? So we really don't know. We're hearing 2 sides of the story from both ends, so we really don't know how healthy he is. And even when he does come back after 4 games, how healthy will he be then, or how in shape will he be for game speed? It's a lot different when you're just working out than when it is playing games.
Exactly. If a player's still injured and they can't make the first week or two, in their minds, they know that. Maybe the team doesn't know that. Then they start putting more pressure on because they don't care as much. So that could be a situation as well. But it's really all over the board. But it's affecting running backs everywhere. In my opinion, I think maybe they should try to bargain a little bit better for that position because it's an exciting position. It for years is the most exciting position in football, even more than quarterbacks until the 2000s, right past those Ravens defense days when they started making it more pass favorable. But it's still very exciting because they catch passes and they catch touchdowns, yet they're getting paid less than linebackers and and
Most wide
cornerbacks.
receivers, yeah, most wide receivers are making more than most running backs too, almost double of almost
Yeah,
what running backs are making right now. So it's just crazy because if you look at the average salaries, wide receivers are one of the highest paid, and like you said, a lot of the defensive players even making more than most running backs. So the pay scales are a little out of whack, I think, though, for the beating that the running backs take.
it is, but it's a market based, just like
Yeah.
we said before, going from the best down to the middle isn't nearly the difference as wide receiver best down to the middle. It's just you got that situation because the injuries are more prominent with running backs too. So it's just maybe the Players Association can say, look, you have to pay your rookies higher, which would make them maybe lean towards the veterans, maybe of keeping a veteran if they have to pay a rookie running back higher for that position. That's the only way that I could think of it. But it's just going to be a mess, and it's not going to be bargained for a while because it's not coming up for years. So we're in this situation, and it's going to stay like this unless there's some sort of a weird strike that happens.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on players honoring their contracts too. Like these guys are making millions. I understand how some of them are underpaid, but if you sign the contract and then it's outdated in a couple of years and other people are making more, you still have to honor that contract. And you're making millions already. You're playing a game that most people would love to play. So I don't know. I think you honor your contract and you don't try and hold out if you're making millions already. You negotiate under behind closed doors and you don't bring this out in the public. So it's just a big
Yeah.
mess now.
Yeah, it's ugly. They think using the public is going to benefit them, put more pressure. It actually probably was more embarrassing, really, for both sides. Let's talk about something a little different this week. We already did our kind of draft rankings last week a little bit and gave you some sleepers here, but we're going to talk about fantasy football, low floor, high ceiling guys. This kind of means guys that could make or break your year. Like sometimes you take a risk on it, and when you do that, it's not like you probably should grab another guy at the same position shortly down the draft board. But there's guys that could completely change it for you. Like Justin Fields changed it for a lot of fantasy owners last week. As a matter of fact, I think I dropped him in a league like after the week 1 or 2 or something. It was some I regret, but it's just he became awesome for a long time, and I think all the way up to the very end where he faltered, which you don't want to falter in the playoffs, but probably put some people in the playoffs that we didn't know was going to get there. So I'm going to start with quarterbacks here, and these are low floor, high ceiling. Now this means that they could suck, but you might want them on the roster because they could just blow up for you. Number one I have is Anthony Richardson. Now I didn't like the draft pick at 5th for Anthony Richardson, and just because I don't like quarterbacks that didn't do much in college that high, and I still stand by that. But he still has the massive size and legs, and blew everybody in the way in the combine. Even blew guys in wide receiver positions away and stuff like that. He's an absolute beast. I think he's very injury prone, which lowers his floor, and I think he's a terrible passer still that lowers his floor. But maybe he just has that Cam Newton type year, and and does really well for them. So I have Anthony Richardson as a massive boomer bust. I still have to put Justin Fields as number 2 because he could suck. He can get injured. He runs. And, he hasn't shown much in preseason yet. So this guy could be great or bad, in my opinion. I think his floor is very low, but still the potential's there. Number 3, I have Jordan Love, because Jordan Love is a kind of guy that we don't know a lot about. He's looked really good in the preseason to me. We're going to know more after this week against my Bears this week. But to be honest with you, he could be a very viable guy. Plus, he runs the ball, and that's something Aaron Rodgers didn't do enough of or a ton of during his tenure at Green Bay. So you might get those rushing yards from the quarterback position. Number 4 is Deshaun Watson. I don't know what to expect. I don't like Stefanski as a coach, but Deshaun Watson at his peak was certainly looked at as a higher draft pick than he's going in drafts right now, Dave. So I think his floor could be kind of low-ish, not terribly low, but kind of low. But I also think he still has that massive high ceiling. And number 5, believe it or not, this is a weird one, Mac Jones. He's not drafted in a lot of leagues, but you have to remember that he's got a new offensive coordinator with Bill O'Brien now, and they've got rid of Patricia. So it doesn't have a ton of weapons, but I've seen Mac Jones perform in college and his first year on the Patriots in good position. So I think he can be a possible boom guy as well, Dave.
Yeah, I like those picks. I had number 1 is Anthony Richardson as well. I think the JT saga, I think that really hurts him not being in camp and not being there now the first 4 weeks. Definitely going to hurt Anthony Richardson a lot. They're going to definitely tee off and blitz him more now with Jonathan Taylor gone. Deion Jackson is not viable fill-in for him. He will put up some fantasy points, but he's not going to be the same as a Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, definitely boomer bust for Anthony Richardson. Number 2, I did have Jordan Love as well. I do like him a lot. I think against that Portage Bears D fence, we'll see how much he's improved with all the linebackers they did sign, but we'll see. I like Jordan Love against the Bears this week. I got him at number 2. Number 3, I got someone else other than Fields. I do like the Fields pick that you had, but I'm going with Brock Purdy. Sophomore year, he's coming back. He supposedly should be healthy now by the first week of the year. Even if he's not, I think as the year goes on, he's only going to get stronger. I like him to have a big year. He's a boomer bust too. He could make or break your fantasy team. I got him in a few of my leagues. Number 4, I have Sam Howell. I've only heard good things coming out of camp about him.
Yeah.
He's still a very unknown guy, though. You don't know what he's going to do this year. So very boomer bust for him too. He could have an awesome year, or he could just flop and just be fly in his face this year. But the coaches has been hyping him up, and they say that they really like him. They said it. Actually, one quote that I really liked is they didn't know what they had with him, and they should have been starting him sooner. So that says a lot about the quarterback when the coach is saying that they really like him that much. So definitely one of my favorite picks right here would be Sam Howell. Number 5, I do have C.J. Stroud going with the rookie here. You don't know what the rookies are really going to bring to the table, but he was awesome at Ohio State. So we'll see what he does this year. I think he could have a good year with Houston. They do have a few weapons there. They have some running backs. The receivers are a little weak there, though. So I think that's why he's a boomer bust there, too. And I think he has some scrambling ability, too. So he is very athletic, like a Richardson almost. Not on that level, but he is pretty athletic, and he will bring something to Houston.
Yeah, very possible. I don't think his ceiling's as high, but I do agree with Sam Howell. I should have added Sam Howell as well as Purdy, because Purdy has all that talent, and he still could be bust, in my opinion. So those are some great additions, Dave. Why don't you start with running backs and let us know where some are boomer bust guys?
Sounds good. One of the guys I really like, Jamar Gibbs, and I'm going with another rookie. We don't know how good he's going to be sharing that backfield with David Montgomery. But I do really like him a lot. I think he could be really good if they do give him the carries. He said they're going to put him in a versatile role, quote. So he could be lining up more. He could be catching more passes in a half-point PPR league or a full PPR league. It's going to be very key for that. So if they are spreading him out, that's going to be key for him. I'm going to go with another rookie at number 2. I'm going to go with Taj Spears. With Henry and all the mileage he has on him right now, if he gets injured, this guy could be a very big boomer bust. If Henry gets injured, he will be getting some carries right now, but if this is kind of injury dependent, but we don't really know if Henry's going to make it the whole year, and he was injured last year. So this is one that has a very higher floor ceiling, depending on injury with Travis Henry. Then I'll go with another guy, Brian Robinson at number 3. He did come back halfway through the year after the gunshot, but he is healthy now. He could be a boomer bust. He could take all the carries and get the majority of the stuff, or Antonio Gibson could take more over a role. So we don't really know with him as well. He did look good last year when he came back, and he did run the ball quite a bit. So he's like a really big high floor ceiling. So we really don't know, because he did catch some passes last year too. So another guy we really don't know about. And then another guy that's going to be a starter this year at number 5, Khalil Herbert. He could be very good this year. He's a starter now, so we saw him in limited action last year have some big games. But now that he's the full-time starter, how good he can really be is going to be a question mark. Number 6, I got Rachaad White, another full-time starter this year. We really don't know how good he could be as well either. He could have a very big high or floor with him. He could be a league winner actually too, now that he's the starting running back there. So another guy that's going to be starting this year, so could have a high floor ceiling as well. Number 7, James Cook. I like him a lot. Another guy who's going to be starting this year and is given a big opportunity as well. So a lot of these running backs giving them big opportunities this year that can have big floor or high ceilings. James Cook, he was one of the higher guys that would break off large chunks of yardage after being hit too. So if you look at those stats, he was one of the leaders in that. So, and then he put up some big games last year too when he did get the opportunity, more carries. So I do like him at 7. Number 8, I'm going with Tank Bigsby. I do like Tank Bigsby as the backup of Travis Etienne, but I do like Etienne too. So this is going to be a two-sided one actually for here. So I like Etienne. I think he could have a big year, higher floor ceiling too. But if he does get hurt, I think Tank Bigsby could jump in there then too. So I'm putting these both those guys in at this ranking right here. And then another guy I do really like too is going to be Evan Hall. He's kind of a sleeper pick. But with Jonathan Taylor out, this is a rookie for the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to have a huge higher floor ceiling because we really don't know when Jonathan Taylor is coming back. If he's coming back, I don't think Deion Jackson is going to get all the carries there. Evan Hall could be a sneaky pick, can have a high floor, high ceiling action, or a low floor or high floor too, because we don't know how many carries he's going to get.
And Zach Moss is out for a while, right?
Exactly. And Zach Moss is out for a while, so it's only going to be really Evan Hall and Deion Jackson. So we really don't know about him. And then my last guy on the list, the guy that we forgot about actually, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They said he's looked good in camp. Pachinko, he's actually banged up, coming off a couple injuries he had in the offseason and end of last year. So they're saying Clyde Edwards-Helaire could have a big role this year again. So he's a guy with a high floor, high ceiling. So we don't really know how good or how many carries he could be this year. So we'll see about him as well.
All right. No, I have a ton of same guys. So I'm just going to go through my list. Number one's Travis Etienne. I mean, for obvious reasons, I think he's underdrafted. Jameer Gibbs, Ramondre Stevenson, even. I think he can have a low floor, high ceiling.
Yep, I
A-
like him a lot.
Ale- Alexander Madison. I don't know what to expect there. I would think his floor should be higher, but I don't know. Maybe it does go low. Khalil Herbert, I have as number 5, just like you. I have Rashad White as number 6. I have Cam Akers as number 7 because he could be really bad or really good this year too. So I had him last year and he busted my teams, but that was due to injury. Number 8 is J.K. Dobbins.
Oh,
A lot of he's been poor in camp. He's been not saying the right things at least, and you wonder what Harbaugh's going to do with this guy. I mean, I think that his rushing carries can be either really high or really low this year. They can either pound him into the ground or they could just do a massive committee there. There's just so many running backs over there. Devon Ashane is number 9. I think he might take over at some point, just like you said, for Mostert. You never know. And Wilson's hurt over there in Miami. So Ashane is a high boomer bust guy. And I even put Jonathan Taylor now that he's sitting out 4 weeks. I have no idea what to expect. He can come back in 4 weeks and be amazing for all we know. It's
exactly.
like you can't take an early pick on him, but he could be a big boomer bust, because what we care about is the playoffs. If you got enough running backs to get to the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor could be one of those guys that you really like. Let's move to wide receivers then. I'm going to quick go through them. Debo Samuel, for all the real reasons. I hope Purdy can throw to him a little bit, but he will get a lot of carries as well and some end around. So I like that. Calvin Ridley's one. It just depends upon if Ritter is going to be good. He could be a boomer bust guy. George Pickens for sure. I really like seeing what Kenny Pickett's doing over there. He's not the number 1 guy there, but I think he could be the number 1 guy soon. Devontae Smith from the Eagles. He just has the speed. He's got the Heisman. He's just a fantastic player from Georgia or from Alabama. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now he broke his wrist a little bit. He'll be back week 2, week 3, something like that, and he could be a boomer bust guy for sure. It maybe be huge for your fantasy league. I don't know if he's going to take over DK Metcalf's role, but he definitely could be a good number 2. Number 6, Michael Pittman. I guess it just really depends upon the quarterback. If they can get some good passes from Richardson, because everyone's stacking the box, Pittman could be a good touchdown guy. He's also a big guy that can grab it in the end zone. Number 7, Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt on the Giants, man. He is looked at right now as possibly moving up the pool up there and taking over a top position. He doesn't have a ton of competition there. Romeo Doubs, I have as number 8 from the Green Bay Packers. If Jordan Love's any good and Watson's covered, Romeo Doubs is going to get the receptions in Green Bay. Number 9, Jameson Williams, just because he's suspended for 6 weeks. But man, this kid's got to get his head out of his ass and get out of trouble. And number 10, Terrence Marshall. I mean, he's the number 1 guy in Carolina. But what is Bryce Young? I mean, if Bryce Young turns out to look anything like he did in Alabama, that means Terrence Marshall is really going to benefit from that, Dave. So those are mine.
I like them. I like a lot of yours, actually. I had a few of the same ones too. But number 1, I got Calvin Ridley. With him coming back from suspension, we don't know how good he'd be, but he was awesome. He helped me win some leagues actually several years ago before he got suspended the next year. But I like Calvin Ridley a lot. DJ Moore. We really don't know how good Justin Fields is going to be. Is he going to be more of a passer, more of a runner this year? How good will he be with DJ Moore? DJ Moore, now that he's the main guy there, I think he could have a big year as well. So really high floor ceiling for him. Different Packer that I'm going to go with, Christian Watson. He really didn't come on until midway through the year. We don't really know how good he's going to be with Jordan Love. He could be a really big boomer bust. He could be a huge big play guy too as well. So we really don't know what we're getting with Christian Watson. So another guy that at number 3. So we don't know what's going to happen. I like George Pickens, number 4. I had him as well. His second year, sophomore year, I think he's been making spectacular catches in practice. But how consistent will he be is the question. Can he put up the consistent numbers every week? We don't know if he's able to do that. Number 5, Gabe Davis, a big sleeper last year for a lot of people. A lot of people really liked him last year, but he kind of fell flat on his face. He really was an underperforming fantasy asset last year. So I don't know how good Gabe Davis could be this year, but he could have a huge ceiling though too. So guy number 5. Number 6, I do like Michael Pittman as well. He is the number 1 guy there. I still do believe. We don't know how good he could be with Richardson. So another quarterback question right there for Pittman. So downgrading him a little bit because of that, but he could be a huge boomer bust. Number 7, Treylon Burks. He was injured most of the year last year, but when he did play, he had some big games. So we really don't know how good he can be. He has a decent quarterback in Tannehill. He could put up some big numbers. He is healthy now, coming into week 1 now. They said that he is healthy now, so we'll see what he can do. Rashad Bateman for the Ravens, number 8. I don't know how good he could be as well either. He was having some big games for. I drafted him last year in a few leagues. He had some big games before he got injured and he was out for a good portion of the year. But Rashad Bateman could be the number 1 for the Ravens, so I really do like him a lot if he's able to stay healthy. Number 9, Kadarius Toney. He's been a sleeper in a lot of leagues, but if he's the main guy in Kansas City, he could put up huge numbers.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so we don't know about him, and he's got an awesome quarterback in Mahomes. So if the guy can stay healthy, that's going to be the biggest thing. And if he can put us some consistent numbers, I could have a huge ceiling. My last guy, number 10, Marvin Mims. A guy going a lot later in drafts than we think, but Juddy's banged up a little bit. It's going to be out for a week or two possibly. Cortland Sutton, he kind of took a back seat. He might take a back seat to him even. They're saying Sims has looked stag good actually in preseason. That he could even take over a number 2 role, but he's going to be a number 3 for sure. And just a matter of how healthy the other receivers are there and how many targets they get to him as well.
Yeah, I like all those. And Mims was one I was thinking about putting there as well. I think Mims can be good. Isn't Jetty out more than 2 or 3 weeks? I thought he was on IR or something. I have to.
They didn't put him on IR, no, or
Okay.
the pup. So they're saying he could be back within the first couple of weeks, but it is a hamstring injury, so those can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, why don't you give me 3 to 5 tight ends, Dave, that you think that could be boom bust?
All right. Well, my first one's going to be Darren Waller. Change of scenery, different quarterback. The main thing with Darren Waller, though, is he's had some huge fantasy games, but can he stay healthy is the question. He's getting up there in age as well, so that's the big question mark on Darren Waller. We don't really know how good he can be. Pat Freiermuth with Kenny Pickett's evolution, we don't know how good he's going to be either. Towards the end of the year, he started putting up some big numbers and had some good games. We don't really know how good he's going to be, but he's a big high floor, high ceiling. Another guy that we've been waiting on, number 4, Kyle Pitts. We don't know what to make of this guy. He was supposed to be like the top tight end coming out. Everyone was drafted number 1. He was like a top 3 tight end last year and the year before. He kind of has underperformed the last couple of years, though. So big high floor ceiling, depends on Desmond Ridder. So a lot of question marks with him. And another guy I'll top it off with, Evan Ingram. He wasn't fantasy relevant the last couple of years until last year, actually, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had a very good season, so he could be really high floor, high ceiling too. So if he has a year like last year and even adds on to that, he could be a huge tight end this year for a lot of people and even can help you win some leagues.
Yeah, I absolutely love those. You know what I did? I went with one guy and 4 rookies. I went with Kyle Pitts, of course, and I totally agree with you on that one. With all the talent that he has, he should be great. And then I have Dalton Kincaid, Lou Musgrave, Michael Mayer, Sam Laporta. I mean, Kincaid's going to play the slot. Going to play the slot, And I do agree with some of the ones you said as well. It's just. These guys could be very boom or bust. And I think the tight end is the most interesting position this year in fantasy football. So real quick, I got 2 defenses that could be boom or bust. I have Seattle for one. I mean, Seattle does play the Rams in Arizona twice. You got to like that. And if 49ers are having quarterback issues, maybe that defense can actually get you some points this year. And the Jaguars aren't looked at as a big defense, but they do play in a very easy division. So you might get some good games against them. Now, am I starting the Jaguars defense against Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati? No, I am not going to start them against them, but I will start them throughout the year against other people, Dave.
Yeah, and I like the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as one of my sleepers, and also the Washington Commanders. A lot of people are sleeping on them this year, but they have that awesome defensive line. They got some decent safeties and they have a decent secondary actually. And the linebackers are a little bit weak, but that D line is just so dominant though. They could get after the quarterback, and I think Chase Young is healthy this year now too. So I do like the Commanders a lot.
Great stuff, Dave. Anything to add before we go?
No, good luck everyone in your drafts this weekend. I know a few of you have some drafts coming up the next couple days. Go Pack.
Go Bears, my man. Big game this week and cannot wait. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.